Today I wanted to show you a super rare flipbook, and it's one of my all-time favorites that I have, and it came from a comic book. All right, so this is a comic book, obviously, but not just any comic book. This is Bone, issue number 1. And when I got this comic just recently, I also got this flipbook with it. And this is just so cool that I had to show you guys, and I'm going to do that in just a minute. Okay, so Bone was a comic book series by Jeff Smith that ran from 1991 to 2004. It was originally black and white, and the full series is also available in graphic novel form in full color. Many of you have probably read the graphic novels already, but if you haven't, seriously go to the bookstore right now and buy them, or go to Amazon right now and order them. I'm going to put a link down below because these are definitely worth your time. I love these books. My kids love these books. And one of my favorite things is when I've been able to sit on the bed with my kids and read these books out loud with them, doing, voices for all the characters. And then it's also available as one giant book in black and white. And again, I'll put Amazon links down below if you haven't read these yet. Okay, so the flipbook. Now, just to be clear, I did not make this flipbook. This is a printed flipbook that I bought, and it was originally printed in 1994. Anyway, I got this issue number 1 comic and this flipbook together recently on eBay. And I was so excited to find this that I just wanted to show you guys. And check out the best part. This is actually signed by Jeff Smith, which is so cool. And you'll notice if you look at the inside cover, the animation for this flipbook was done by Tom Bancroft, who was one of Disney's animators. He worked on tons of stuff, including Mulan, Pocahontas, The Lion King, Aladdin. And I actually had the privilege of interviewing Tom for this video to talk about making the animation for this flipbook. So after I show you the flipbook, I'm going to show you part of my interview with Tom Bancroft, and then I'll have some other news related to Bone at the end. Okay, so here is the rare signed Bone flipbook from 1994. This is such good animation. I love everything about it. And the rat creatures are some of my favorite characters in the Bone story. I love the way he smashes the tree here. It's so good. All right, now I want to play you part of my interview with Tom Bancroft, the Disney animator who animated this flipbook. And he tells the story of how it came down to the very last second and he nearly dropped the ball on finishing this animation. But before I do that, let me just take a second to thank today's sponsor, Surfshark. We spend so much time online these days, the last thing you want is for a password to get stolen or any other personal information. And with Surfshark, all of your online activity is encrypted, so no one unwanted can see it. It also has a feature called HackLock, which will scan various databases and notifies you if your private data is found so you can take action. Another reason to use a VPN is because streaming services are often restricted based on what country you're in. For example, you might be able to find The Office on US Netflix, but not UK Netflix. So if you're traveling to another country, you can fix that problem by simply changing your server to another location. This has been essential for me, especially when traveling to places like China, where YouTube and Google are actually blocked, and I would not have had access otherwise. It's a critical tool in locations like that. You can use Surfshark on as many devices as you want, and you've got a 30-day money-back guarantee. And right now, using my promo code Andymation, you get 85% off and 3 months free. 85%. So that works out to $1.77 a month for 27 months. It's a no-brainer, so do me a favor and thank Surfshark for supporting the channel by clicking the link below and trying it out yourself. All right, well now here is part of my interview with Tom Bancroft, who did the animation for this flipbook. So Tom, your work in animation is... Well, I mean, it's amazing. I'm sure you hear that a lot. And I love your podcast.
I'm never tired. You continue.
Okay. But I love your podcast that you and your brother do. So you were a veteran Disney animator. You created and supervised Mushu from Mulan. You worked on Rescuers Down Under, Aladdin, The Lion King, Pocahontas. And your demo reel is... Looking at your demo reel as an animator, it's like mind-blowing. It's really good.
I love hearing that from an animator. Thank you. That means even more. I appreciate that.
So you created the animation for this Bone flipbook back in like 1994.
So yeah, I was friends already with Jeff Smith, the creator of Bone, the comic book, and but kind of like light friends. And so I remember when Bone #1 came out, and I was like, oh yeah, this is amazing. So it had a real kind of a simplified but Disney look to it and a really slick ink style. I love all those things. I'm a huge fan of comic books and of comic strips and then of course animation too. So it's kind of like everything I loved all combined. And then one day he calls me and he says, "Hey, we're doing this thing and it's we got this crazy idea. What if we did a bone flip book and it was going to be like a VIP kind of a gift. It was exclusive to comic book retailers, and they would send them all like only like 4 or 5 of them or something like that. So with the expectation that they would keep 1 or 2 and sell a couple and make a ton of bucks because they were super limited. They were only going to print, I don't know how many, but say a few hundred to 1,000. And because he was doing really well with the comic, he was like, "Yeah, I'm going to get a Disney animator to animate this." And so he knew me, and so he called me. I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm in." Now, the tough part was it was really bad timing, and because then the next thing he says is, "I need it like in a month." It was a fairly quick turnaround. It was like 2 weeks to a month, somewhere in there. But that had to go to cleanup and everything, and that was like, I don't even have an idea for it. I don't even know what I want. I don't even have a model sheet, by the way, of the character. And he had to give me like they had done a PVC figurine of Bone where he's like got 1 foot on a rock, and he had done kind of a turn of that, and that was my only model sheet. And it wasn't really on model, like it wasn't consistent that well. So and I didn't really need the money. I had a good job, so it wasn't like about the money. It was just like, oh, this sounds great. But I wasn't really thinking about the turnaround and how much time it would take and all that. I just thought, oh, I want to do this. It sounds fun.
Yeah.
What ended up happening was I again, being a newbie freelancer too, and having a good day job, I wasn't like super. I really wanted to do it, but I wasn't like super motivated to do it fast. And I had a lot of other things going on in my family and stuff like that. So I kept
Hmm.
kind of putting it off. I kind of remember this, and and then I got on Pocahontas, and I was now about to start animating Pocahontas, the lead character, with Glenn Keane, by the way. This is the top animator at
Yeah.
Disney. And so that was like a huge honor. And I'm just like, oh, I can't blow this. I can't. And it was hard. It was hard stuff. So I just remember I found out on like, I'll say on a Wednesday that they were going to fly me out to California. I was working out of the Florida Disney Animation Studio, and they were going to fly me out to California the next week to work with Glenn. We were going to do deep dives into how to draw her, just to get ready to start animating, right? He was going to give us lessons and lectures. And I was really looking forward to it, of course. And then Jeff calls me and he goes, "Hey, how's that animation going?" And I just freak out. I'm going, "Oh, wait, did you need that like really fast?" He's like, "Yeah, I told you
Yeah.
a while ago I need it in like a month." And so I'm like, "Oh, okay. So we got what, maybe 2 or 3 more weeks?" And he's like, "No, no, no. I need this next week because I got to get it cleaned up still. It's got to go to somebody
Yikes.
else." And
Uh-huh.
I hadn't even thought of it getting cleaned up. And so I just remember I hadn't even started it.
Oh
And
man.
so now here I was flying to California to work with Glenn Keane. And I remember what happened was my mom lives in California. So I was going to visit her that weekend. And so all that week I started it working at night at Disney, working during Pocahontas and trying to just sneak it in there because I was like freaking out that I didn't have much time. I had about 3 days to do this flip book, I think.
Gosh.
And then I remember going to my mom's house with like a little, I had to find it because I was animating this pencil and paper, by the way, on pegged paper. And so I had to get like a board at my mom's house and tape a peg strip to it because I hadn't
Uh-huh.
finished it, right? And it was fairly intricate. It's a scene actually from the comic book where the rat creatures, again, never drawn those guys before either. Um, so you see Bone kind of come in from screen right of the page, and then he goes around and he kind of curves and kind of slides and trips a little bit as he makes a curve and kind of is coming toward camera or toward the audience. And so getting a little bit bigger. And the rat creature, meanwhile, is right behind him, like bounding, about to get him. And then I had to sort of figure out that a tree would then come off from screen right and animate in perspective, and then Bone would go on the like around it, But that was right as the rat creature's jumping in the air to get Bone, and he hits the tree. You see him, wood fly off the back of the tree, if I remember right, and he slumps down. He's knocked out, and of course Bone got away. So it was a pretty intricate, I don't know if you could tell by how I described that, but it was kind of a stupid thing to do. It had perspective of him small, getting bigger and coming toward camera. It was a fun thing, and it actually worked out really well. But timing that at the end, as far as like getting the bone creature to be in pace, I had to just sort of figure out where would his footfalls be and where would he need to be in the air as this tree's coming in and Bone getting out of the way and still be able to tell what happened. It's a little quick at the end, I will admit. I probably needed a few more drawings at the end there to make that super clear. But it worked. And so I just remember being in my mom's kitchen, finishing that thing frantically on a Saturday, before I flew out the next day. And so I just mailed that stack to Jeff last minute, like before I got on the plane, I think. And I hadn't even shot it. That's the other thing. I had shot the pose test. I never shot the final. I just finished it, packaged it. I flipped it, and I was like, well, it's a flip book. It doesn't have to be timed out perfectly, right?
Yeah, but so you did it in 3 days.
I'd say 3 days. I can't totally remember, but that's probably about right. And done during Pocahontas at Disney, so don't tell anybody.
Right. That's crazy though. It's shocking. Like when you look at it, the characters look so on model. It's just shocking that you hadn't done much with it.
Well, the nice thing is that then Jeff I just mailed the stack of drawings, literally just the whole stack, and they were big. It's not like Flipbook size, but it's like 8.5 by 11. And then he immediately gave it to the cleanup people there, and they cleaned it up, and they put it more on model. They did a great job. I'd put them really behind, and so I think they only had a day or two to clean up the whole thing. I think mine was pretty on model. I've seen drawings on eBay every once in a while, and that's the only way I've ever seen those drawings ever again, is every once in a while one will come up for sale.
That's so cool. Yeah, I was wondering if you still had the original, but when was the last time that you actually saw this flipbook?
Well, I own a couple of them. So Jeff did give me about, I'm going to say 3 copies. One of them he signed the back of, and so that's the one I kind of count as the
right. And I actually have one of those signed ones.
Oh, do you?
I got off eBay. You can see there.
Oh, yeah.
And I asked when the last time was you looked at it, because you describing the animation, it's like you might as well have done it yesterday. You know it so well, and even to commenting on the end. Yeah, I think the end was a little bit fast. And this was like 1994, but I think that's just sort of a testament to, as an animator, how involved you get into a shot. You just know it so well when you're done.
You do. You do. And it's never perfect. That's obviously why I'm also commenting on what could have been better that I don't know, because there's so much detail, so many things to think about. I just still am in awe of the craft. And you got to be a geek about performance, about acting, about posing. You're watching people at all times. You're thinking about every little aspect of 100 things besides just the drawing you're doing as you're doing that drawing.
Well, I really appreciate it, and let's keep in touch.
I will. I love it. Thank you,
Okay,
Andy.
thanks, Tom. All right.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I want to thank Tom Bancroft for talking with me. I'll put links to his Instagram and his podcast down below, so be sure to go follow him there. And now on the topic of Bone, in case some of you don't know already, Netflix announced last year that Bone is being developed as a Netflix series, which I am super excited about. I actually think Netflix is the perfect platform for Bone, because they'll actually be able to spend enough time with the story, and I'm just really excited about that. So definitely keep an eye out for that. All right, well, that's it for today. Don't forget to visit andymation.shop, where you can get my flipbook kit and paper. Thanks for watching. Keep creating, and I'll see you in the next video.